Hi, boys and girls. This is Miss Paradise, and I will finish reading the book Race the Wild to you. I hope you enjoy it. Chapter 9, Whale of a Finish. Javier seemed taken aback when he found the team in a huddle of giggles. I'm glad you're having a good time, but we're almost to the coordinates, he announced. Thank you, Russell said. We're having a good time. And he added, I hope that's not a crime. Dave whacked him in the stomach with the back of his arm. Sage, can you please tell us what to do so he'll stop? Sage wasn't sure what to say. Was this her job? Was this what she needed to do for the team? She looked to Mary, but the other girl just shook her head. Sage sniffled back the laughter and pushed herself off the deck floor. Someone get binoculars, she said, surveying where the boat was headed. We need to figure out what the next challenge will be. Dev scrambled to his feet, grabbing his binoculars, and focused them into the distance. Javier turned toward the main cabin. The guide seemed relieved that Team Red was back on track. Dev assessed that there was a small fleet of kayaks docked at a floating platform. Farther in the distance was an island. There is a pennant with the wildlife logo on it, Dev exclaimed. It's on the beach. You think we just need to get from the platform to the island and we'll be done? Mary asked. Well, we could ask Team Purple, Dev said. I can see someone in a purple shirt already on the beach. Sage shook her head. Team Purple was impressive. As the yacht's engine decreased to a purr, Sage's heart rate nearly doubled. The boat pulled up, and the team climbed right from the boat's ladder to the floating dock. When they looked back to Javier, he had something in his hand. It was a large red key. He handed it to Sage. Thanks, she said, and they all waved to their trusty chaperone. It must be for the kayaks, Dev said, motioning to a two-person boat tied to the dock. He quickly examined the key and the various locks. Our key will only work on the red one. Sage calculated that was one canoe missing. The purple one. How much of a lead did the smarties have? When Sage looked to the wildlife flag, she could see that there was a kayak in the water. It wasn't even halfway to the beach. Look, they're not that far ahead, Sage exclaimed. It wasn't the same racing for second place, but Team Red still had something to prove. Mary, you're in front. Russell, in the back. Sage held the shell steady as her teammates slid into place, and Dev handed them paddles. Russell, you up to coming back for us? Yeah, he said, already pushing off. Hurry, she yelled. As she watched them paddle forward the island, she wondered how long it would take Russell to row back. You know, it's a good thing you're so good at taking charge, Dev said. Otherwise, you would be pretty annoying. Sage glanced at Dev, who smiled. Thanks, she said. I guess. She reached for her ladybug earring. They both watched as Russell and Mary paddled through the water. "They're gaining on the purple team," Dev pointed out. "They are," Sage agreed. She could tell that Eliza was in the purple kayak with one of her teammates. Sage guessed Eliza had rowed the other two purple team members to the beach. She must be worn out by now. "It feels weird," Dev said, just watching them. Sage looked toward the pennant flapping in the breeze on the island. "I don't suppose you want to swim?" she asked, her arms and legs already pulsing with energy. "Is that a joke?" Dev asked. "You might have noticed. I'm not good at jokes," she answered. "Then let's do it," Dev said. "I kind of did the math. I bet we can swim it faster than Russell can kayak back and forth 2 more times." "I bet you're right," Sage said as she moved to the edge of the dock and bent her knees. Dev did the same. "Ready, set, go!" Together they dove in. This felt good and right. She was on the move. Not so much racing as making progress side by side with a teammate. They'd swum several strokes when Sage thought she heard a scream. She immediately pulled up and treaded water, trying to figure it out. She heard the high-pitched sounds again, but this time it was more of a delighted squeal. Dev had stopped too, and they both looked ahead to where Russell and Mary were paddling. Sage focused in time to see a mighty set of fringed flukes splash with water, only yards from the red kayak. "That whale isn't giving them enough clearance," Dev said. "Bull Gordon could take points away for that." Sage smiled. At this point, she didn't care about clearance or clues or ANCAMs. She did care that Marie had been able to see a whale, perhaps closer than she had even wanted. She also noticed that the purple kayak had not stopped. It continued to the beach at a steady rate, plodding toward first place. Mary pumped both arms, holding her paddle in the air. Sage felt a surge of energy too, and pushed her way through the water with strong, steady strokes. And she felt the burn in her muscles. "You found a good rhythm," and Dave stayed by her side. Soon they were stumbling up the sandy beach together. "What were you guys thinking?" Russell asked, reaching out to help Dev. "We just wanted to get here, to finish," said Dev. Mary grabbed Sage's arm as they walked up the beach. Sage glanced at her friend. "That humpback!" she gasped. "I know!" Mary's eyes sparkled. "I know!" They half staggered, half ran up the path toward the wildlife pennants. There they saw Bull Gordon with his thumbs thrust through his belt loops again. Even on the beach, he sported his felt fedora. They came to a stop before him, all in a line. "Team Red," he announced. "You're in second place. Congratulations." "Thank you," Sage answered, her voice in chorus with her other teammates. "You lost your lead," Bull said, "but you seem okay with that." 100 responses ran through Sage's head. 100 excuses. But they didn't matter. "Yeah," she said, I think we are. At least I am. She looked to her teammates, not wanting to speak for them. We got through a lot on this leg, Russell said. And we got to see a lot, Mary added. This comment made Sage smile. Mary was a lot like Caroline. She was also so much herself. So were Dev and Russell. They all had their strengths, but their characters went well beyond that. Yeah, what they said, Dev answered, motioning toward Mary, Russell, and Sage. Then they all looked back to Bill Gordon. Okay, then, Bill responded. You'll be the second team to start the next course. Hope you know a lot about Arctic animals and their ecosystem. You'll need all the help you can get there. Sage felt her heart skip at the thought of another leg of the race. It was another chance for Team Red to prove itself. As they walked over to the concession table to join the purple team, Sage thought again about what Bull Gordon had said. She was excited about the Arctic and what they could encounter there. Polar bears, glaciers, gray, wolves. But where the wildlife went next wasn't all that important because Sage knew something Bull Gordon didn't. No matter where they ended up, she already had all the help she needed. Her friends had already taught her a lot about being a team. Maybe one day, they'd even teach her how to take a joke. Boys and girls, this is the end of the book. I hope you enjoyed it and learned a lot about friendship and what it takes about being a good friend.